While we're all warm in our homes, in our condos, our houses, these people, these folks are living out on the streets in the freezing cold. Snowing, ice, drizzle, hail, everything in between. They're out there day and night, 24 hours a day. And you can blame them and you can blame other people, but at the end of the day, really, it's the system that's failed them. The system that's failed all of us is why these people are out in the streets. I don't think anyone is going to be able to prove to me and convince me that they cannot fix this problem. They cannot help these people. When the system is closing down Riverview and other social services and not offering any real support for these people unless it's non-NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and private parties that are feeding these people in the streets, then the system has failed them. And this has been going on for a long time, and it's not like there's not enough money to go around. It's just that money's not being spent in the right places. There's no reason this has to happen in a so-called first world country like Canada, and also the United States for that matter. Up and down the West Coast, like I've said before, is the exact same situation. So there's really no excuses for this other than people just don't care. People who are running things don't care. They care about other things for sure, but they don't care when it comes down to residents of the Downtown Eastside, residents of Vancouver. They don't care about that, but they sure care about a lot of other things that I don't want to get into. But oh yeah, they care about other stuff, but when it comes to this, they definitely turn a blind eye. Like, just look at this mess. Look at what's actually going on one of the busiest streets in downtown Vancouver, and nobody has solutions. People just kind of shuffle them around thinking it'll just kind of fix itself. You have to get to the root of the problem. You have to understand why this is happening. And this is a generational issue. This is the issue brought upon these people from decades ago, almost a century ago, with residential schools, with the taking of Aboriginal Native children from their families decades ago, back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, put in residential schools, never to see their parents again, some of them dying in these schools and so forth. And everyone sweeps it under the rug and everyone blames the other person. But you have to ask yourself, what was going on back then that they were taking so many Aboriginal children from their parents, putting them in these schools where they slept there, they ate there, they were supposedly educated there. Well, not really. And this continued on for decades after decades. I think the last residential schools were closed mostly in the late 1990s. So how was this allowed to continue for decades upon decades? Well, yeah, it's because people didn't really know about it, and at some points they swept it underneath the rug. And then, of course, there's so much trauma behind all of that, and then it just spills out into the streets decades later. People want to forget about their childhoods because they're so traumatized from those situations. But of course, it's not just Native people down there, Aboriginal people. There's also lots of just white people and stuff like that. But they all have trauma-based issues relating back to childhood and stuff like that. Obviously, mental health issues and so forth. That's where the drugs come in, because they want to forget about their life, and then from there, it's just a circle of destruction in their personal lives that is now spilling out into the streets for all Canadians to see. And this points the finger at everybody, because this issue is a societal issue where we humans simply do not care about one another. We don't care as long as they're not related to us, and sometimes even if they are related to us, we don't care. We just want to think about our Starbucks latte coffee, and we're late for work, so we walk past them, not thinking about, these people were once little babies in a cradle, in a hospital, just born, right? And then they slowly grew up, and this is what happened to them. I don't think these people wanted to turn out this way, these folks. But here they are, living on the streets of Vancouver, growing by the day and dying by the day as well. And it continues day in, day out, day in, day out. And if anyone thinks this is actually going to end anytime soon, it's not going to end anytime soon. How can it end anytime soon when all the factors of this being there in the first place continue, right? Sure, the residential schools have closed, but the trauma is already there, and the trauma has been passed down to other generations, to the kids and the grandkids of the people from these residential schools from decades ago, and the trauma from other childhood issues, sex abuse, neglect, child abuse, has been passed down to other generations, and it just gets worse and worse. If you ignore the problem, it'll just snowball and escalate. It'll affect future generations. You learn from your parents. Whatever you see your parents do is what you will do. If you see your parents doing drugs, you're gonna be possibly a drug addict. If you see your parents involved in having sexual abuse or them doing it to you, guess what? You're gonna go through the same scenario. We all learn from our parents. We all learn from our childhood experiences, good or bad. And these people, for the most part, have had bad, shocking childhood issues and a childhood life. Don't kid yourself. This is never going to go away unless we fix our society, and we're going in the wrong direction right now, big time. That's for sure.
Nice bike.
I gotta tell you, walking down there, right on the streets, right next to all these folks, kind of makes you sober. It makes you just reflect on your own life. Kind of makes you reflect on Canada as a whole. Just makes you think about how good I have it, and makes you just think, why is this happening? How can this continue? And what can be done? And it's pretty shocking, it's frightening, pretty downright and scary, to tell you the truth, when you're down there walking amongst all these folks. This is not a movie, this is real life, and it's out of control.